In a hologram, if you cut the film in half and illuminate only one half, you don't see half the image. You see the entire image, less sharp, but complete. This is not a special effect. It is a structural property. In a hologram, every fragment contains the information of the whole. The part is not a slice of the whole. It is the whole expressed at a different level of resolution. If the universe has a holographic structure, and this is an idea explored by theoretical physicist David Bohm in his work on quantum theory, and by neuroscientist Carl Pribram in his holographic model of the brain, then the most unsettling implication is not that the universe is an illusion. It is that every point of consciousness, including you, may already contain information about the whole. The limitations of ordinary experience would then reflect not an absence of information, but limits in how that information is accessed. The holographic principle was formally proposed by theoretical physicist Gerard de Hooft and later expanded by Leonard Susskind, inspired by Stephen Hawking's work on black hole thermodynamics. It suggests that all the information contained within a three-dimensional volume could, in principle, be encoded on the two-dimensional boundary surrounding it. In this framework, the three-dimensional universe may emerge from information encoded on a lower dimensional surface. This is not science fiction. It is an active area of theoretical physics. You have come this far because of a persistent curiosity about the nature of reality, a suspicion that what appears to be an objective and fixed world contains deeper layers than ordinary perception reveals. You have read, questioned, explored, and arrived at a place where your questions have become more refined, yet the feeling remains that something fundamental has not been fully understood. That is not a failure of curiosity. It may simply be a sign that you're approaching questions where modern physics, philosophy of consciousness, and contemplative traditions intersect. Questions whose possible answers are both intellectually rigorous and deeply challenging. You are not about to receive a technical explanation of the holographic principle. Instead, you are invited to consider what the holographic principle, as a model relating information and experience, might imply about the way you relate to the limits of perception itself. This is the key shift. If the limitation of experience is not caused by a lack of information in the universe, but by limits in how information is accessed, then the central question changes completely. The question is no longer, how do I acquire more information? It becomes, how do I increase my capacity to perceive what may already be available? Leaving before the end would mean missing one of the most profound reversals this perspective offers, not simply about the universe, but about the nature of knowing itself. Very few people fascinated by holographic reality focus on what may be its most practical implication, not what the universe is out there, but what may already be contained within each point of conscious experience. And there is a paradox that becomes clearer over time. You are not inside the hologram searching for information located somewhere else. You are one point within the hologram, and if the holographic metaphor holds, each point reflects aspects of the whole. What limits experience is not necessarily the quantity of available information. It is the resolution through which that information is perceived. Before exploring what increases that resolution, however, we must first understand what has always prevented us from recognizing that the information may already be present. The most common approach among those exploring reality, whether through quantum physics, philosophy of mind, or spirituality, is to assume that reality is an objective, external object that can be understood simply by accumulating more knowledge about it. You read more physics, study more philosophy, explore more perspectives, as though the answer lies in the next book, the next teacher, or the next theory. Each new perspective enriches your conceptual model. Yet, a richer model does not necessarily produce a fundamentally different experience of reality. The difficulty is structural. If reality has a holographic structure, then what you seek out there may already be reflected in here. Searching only for external information about what is already internally represented is like trying to understand the entire hologram from outside it, instead of recognizing that every fragment already contains the pattern of the whole. The counterintuitive reversal is this: to experience more of reality than ordinary perception reveals. You may not need more information about reality. You may need greater resolution in accessing the information already available within experience itself. The difference between the horizontal pursuit of more information and the vertical cultivation of deeper access is profound. The first assumes the limitation is a shortage of information. The second assumes the limitation is one of access, and access is something entirely different. Quantum superposition describes a physical system existing as a combination of multiple possible states until a measurement yields a specific outcome. As a metaphor, ordinary perception can be imagined as one particular slice of a broader range of possibilities. What remains unperceived is not necessarily absent. It may simply lie outside the range of what our current perspective can reveal. Think of a mirror reflecting only what stands directly in front of it. The world outside its angle of reflection has not disappeared. It simply falls beyond the mirror's present view. Expand the angle, and what seemed absent becomes visible. Perception is the mirror. The holographic universe is the possibility that reality contains far more than the angle from which we currently observe it. Here's the English translation in a reusable writing block. But here is the point where most people stop listening, and it is precisely the point that changes everything. The holographic principle, as a model for the relationship between information and experience, operates through a specific mechanism that explains both why ordinary perception is limited and why that limitation is not absolute. Why there is always more than our current perception captures, and how that more might become accessible. The mechanism has two levels. The first is the level of information. In a hologram, the information of the whole is distributed throughout every part, not with the same resolution. A fragment has lower resolution than the complete hologram, but with the same underlying informational pattern expressed at a different scale. If reality has an analogous structure, then information about the whole of reality could be reflected in every point, including the point of consciousness that you are. The limitation of experience would therefore not arise from an absence of information, but from the resolution with which that information is accessed. The second is the level of access. What determines the resolution of access is not the amount of information available, which remains constant, but the quality of the instrument through which it is perceived. Carl Pribram proposed that the brain processes information according to holonomic principles. Each region contains distributed information about the whole, and the quality of processing determines how much of that information becomes available to conscious experience. The quality of the instrument is what can be developed. Coherence, the state in which the inner system functions as an integrated whole, with patterns reinforcing rather than interfering with one another, is the condition in which the instrument of perception functions at its highest quality. A coherent wave field can be imagined as having a greater capacity to reveal complex patterns than an incoherent one. Think of the difference between a crystal and ordinary glass. The same light passes through both, yet the crystal reveals intricate refractions that ordinary glass does not. The light has not changed, only the quality of the medium through which it passes. In this analogy, inner coherence is the crystal. Ordinary perception is the glass. Take a deep breath now. Inhale fully, exhale slowly. Instead of trying to understand what you have just read intellectually, simply notice the quality of your experience in this moment before analyzing it. Is your inner field coherent or scattered, open or contracted, present or distracted? Whatever its current quality, that is the instrument through which experience is being perceived. The instrument itself can be refined before any new information is added. The practical implication is straightforward. If you wish to experience more of reality than ordinary perception allows, do not focus only on gathering more external information. Develop greater coherence in the inner instrument through which information is perceived. Yet there is an obstacle that prevents most people from working on the instrument instead of endlessly accumulating knowledge. And it is built from the most genuine kind of fascination. When you truly understand this, you discover an obstacle that almost no one mentions. The obstacle is not the difficulty of refining the instrument itself. The obstacle is that fascination with the holographic model of reality easily creates a self-perpetuating cycle of intellectual exploration. Every new perspective produces fresh fascination. Fresh fascination generates another search. The search leads to another model, yet the cycle often develops conceptual understanding without developing the instrument that would allow those ideas to become lived experience. There is a particular form of imprisonment that affects the most curious and intellectually serious minds. Curiosity about the map becomes a substitute for walking the territory. The holographic model of reality becomes increasingly sophisticated, while experience itself remains fundamentally unchanged. This is not a failure of intelligence. It is the natural tendency of a mind that has learned that understanding is the path to knowledge. But this may be the one domain where understanding the model is not enough. If there is something beyond ordinary perception, then it is the instrument of perception, not merely the conceptual model, that must be refined. The central paradox of studying holographic reality is this: the more sophisticated the cognitive model becomes, the more that model itself can become a substitute for direct experience. The very system that constructs the elegant theory is strengthened, while the instrument capable of moving beyond theory remains largely undeveloped. Your tendency to seek deeper intellectual explanations, whenever the corresponding experience does not arise, is not your enemy. It may simply be the final guardian before a different kind of insight. It is the intelligence that has always relied upon understanding as the path forward, now encountering a domain where understanding alone may not be sufficient. The difference between an increasingly sophisticated holographic model that replaces experience and an increasingly coherent instrument that enables experience determines whether holographic reality remains an endlessly fascinating idea or becomes something explored through direct observation. So, what allows the instrument itself to develop when fascination with the model continues to absorb nearly all of your attention? If you have followed this far, perhaps your attention has already shifted, even slightly, from the model toward the instrument. That subtle shift is where everything begins to change. So how do you move beyond this final guardian? Here is what changes everything. Here's the English translation in a reusable writing block. The solution to becoming fascinated with the model at the expense of developing the instrument is a practice that uses that fascination as fuel for refining the instrument, rather than accumulating more conceptual models. The practice is what we might call the interface question. Instead of asking, what does the holographic principle say about the nature of reality? A question that feeds the endless accumulation of theories. Ask instead, what aspect of my present experience reveals that my instrument of perception is still limited, and what quality of inner state would correspond to greater coherence in that instrument? The same fascination is now directed somewhere different, not toward expanding the cognitive model, but toward refining the instrument through which the model, if true, might actually become experiential. The practical exercise is simple. Once each day, choose an ordinary moment, a conversation, a walk, a meal, and silently ask, what aspects of this experience are already present but not yet fully accessible through my current way of perceiving? What more exists here than I am presently noticing? Do not try to answer. Simply hold the question with genuine openness. Allow the instrument itself to become slightly more receptive to whatever the question makes possible. This practice does not create new information with an experience. It seeks to refine the coherence of the instrument through which information is accessed. With consistency, what was previously unnoticed may gradually become part of conscious experience. Before continuing, pause here. Ask yourself now, what aspects of the experience of reading these words are already present but not yet fully accessible through my current perception? Don't answer conceptually. Simply allow your attention to open slightly in the direction of the question and notice whether anything becomes apparent that you were not noticing before. Whatever shifts is not necessarily proof of a holographic universe. It is an experiment in changing the quality of attention itself. The fascination inspired by the holographic model can therefore be redirected toward developing the instrument of perception. As the instrument develops, it may become capable of revealing dimensions of experience that conceptual understanding alone cannot provide. This opens the path toward refining perception itself. Yet, there is a deeper layer that determines whether the refined instrument consistently reveals more of reality, or whether expanded moments of perception remain occasional glimpses that fade before becoming a stable way of experiencing life. This is where the holographic principle intersects with traditions that have explored how consciousness might relate to reality beyond ordinary perception. Comment now. The whole is present in every point, not as a declaration that expanded perception has already been achieved, but as recognition of the guiding principle behind the practice. If reality is holographic, then every point may reflect the whole. And what is being cultivated is the capacity to perceive that more fully. This deeper layer is where everything you have learned either becomes enduring or disappears within days. You are not exploring an obscure or purely speculative idea. You are encountering a line of thought that has attracted some of the 20th century's most creative thinkers, each approaching the relationship between information, consciousness, and reality from a different direction. David Bohm, the theoretical physicist who collaborated with Albert Einstein and developed the concept of the implicate order, proposed the idea of the more hollow movement. The universe is not fundamentally a collection of separate objects, but an undivided process in which apparent objects emerge as unfoldings of a deeper whole. In Bohm's view, separation is a useful abstraction rather than the most fundamental description of reality. Carl Pribram, the Stanford neuroscientist, whose holonomic brain theory, developed alongside Bohm's ideas, proposed that the brain processes information in distributed patterns analogous to holography. Rather than memories existing in a single physical location, they may be distributed across networks, helping explain why localized brain injuries often degrade memories rather than erasing them completely. The Buddhist metaphor of Indra's net, developed within the Huayan tradition, describes an infinite web of jewels in which every jewel reflects every other jewel. Although presented as a philosophical and spiritual image, rather than a scientific theory, it expresses a remarkably similar intuition. Each point reflects the whole. Michael Talbot, in The Holographic Universe, brought Bohm's and Pribram's ideas to a wider audience and explored reports of altered states of consciousness, near-death experiences, and spontaneous healing through a holographic framework. While many of these applications remain speculative and are not established scientific conclusions, his work helped popularize the idea that consciousness and reality might be more deeply interconnected than classical models suggest. Taken together, these perspectives point toward a shared possibility. Perhaps the most meaningful question is not simply, what is reality? It is also, what kind of instrument must perception become in order to encounter more of what reality may already contain? David Bohm and the holo movement as the underlying structure of the universe, Carl Pribram and the holonomic model of the brain, Indra's net and the reflection of the whole within every point. Michael Talbot and the human experiences, he argued, are more easily interpreted within a holographic framework. Each points toward the same underlying idea. Reality may be organized in such a way that the whole is reflected within every part, not as a lower quality copy, but as the same informational pattern accessible at different levels of resolution. From this perspective, the limitation of ordinary experience is not necessarily a lack of information, but a limitation in the resolution of the instrument through which it is perceived. The unifying insight is this: you are not outside the hologram, searching for more information about what is inside it. You are one point within the hologram, and if the holographic metaphor is valid, the point itself already reflects the whole. What can develop is not the information itself, but the resolution through which it is accessed. Bringing this directly to you, every moment in which experience seemed to reveal something beyond the ordinary, a sudden insight that appeared without step-by-step reasoning, a sense of connection that exceeded what circumstances alone seemed to explain, need not be viewed as an anomaly. It can be understood as a moment in which the instrument of perception briefly operated with greater coherence, allowing aspects of experience that usually remain unnoticed to become more apparent. The difference between perceiving reality through an instrument of low coherence and one of greater coherence is like the difference between illuminating a hologram from a single angle, revealing only one perspective, and illuminating it from many angles, allowing its full three-dimensional structure to emerge, like a wave carrying within itself the pattern of the disturbance that created it, not as a collection of separate pieces, but as a unified expression of a single movement. Every point of consciousness may be understood as expressing the larger field from which it arises, and when this shifts from being merely an interesting idea to becoming part of how you relate to experience, something fundamental changes. You are no longer someone collecting theories about holographic reality in the hope that a more complete conceptual model will eventually produce the experience those theories describe. Instead, you begin to recognize the possibility that the information reflected in the whole is already present within every point, including the point of awareness that you are. From this perspective, what expands experience is not accumulating more models. It is refining the coherence of the instrument through which experience is perceived. You already are one point within the hologram. The invitation is not to search endlessly for more information about the hologram. It is to continue asking the daily interface question that gradually develops the instrument, capable of perceiving more of what may already be present in ordinary experience. You will not necessarily discover more of reality simply by completing the perfect conceptual model, nor will a sufficiently large collection of perspectives guarantee expanded experience. If the holographic metaphor is correct, the information is already here, in every point, every moment, including this one. What develops is the resolution of perception. We become those who choose to refine the instrument instead of endlessly expanding the model, who choose inquiry that deepens perception rather than information that merely enlarges the map, who understand not merely as an intriguing theory, but as an invitation to direct observation, that the whole may already be reflected within every point, and that the point through which we experience reality may already contain more than we habitually notice. If you have come this far, you are no longer trying only to understand holographic reality from the outside through increasingly sophisticated theories. You are exploring what it might mean to be one point within that holographic reality, to discover whether refining perception changes what becomes available to experience. The synthesis is paradoxical, as many enduring insights are. You are not simply inside a holographic reality, searching for more information. You are one expression of that reality, gradually discovering more of what may already be reflected within the point you inhabit. The search becomes less about acquiring and more about perceiving. Comment: hologram, not as a declaration that expanded perception has been fully achieved, but as recognition of the principle that each point may reflect the whole, that the daily practice of the interface question is underway, and that the instrument of perception develops one degree of resolution at a time. You have explored the holographic principle and the practice of the interface question. that cultivates a more coherent instrument of perception. But there is another layer beyond individual perception. It is the possibility that greater coherence within one point may influence how it relates to others, not as an established physical mechanism, but as a philosophical and contemplative idea explored by thinkers such as Bohm, who emphasized the profound interconnectedness of apparently separate aspects of reality.